Hey there, YouTube. This is Jasper. Welcome to my channel. I've been thinking for some time about doing some commentary on some of my matches, and I'm finally getting around to it. I want to focus on some of the tactics and some of the things that I think about in a match to give you a sense of the things that go on in my head and hopefully to give you a sense of the kinds of strategies that I think about and that I use. So yeah, this first match is going to be me commentating on my match against Keith Offord this past Saturday. At the 2016 Aurora Spring Round Robin. I've played Keith a ton because he and I both play at the same club, Net and Paddle, but whenever we play in tournaments, it's usually pretty close. So I hope you enjoy the commentary and the tactics that I talk about, and feel free to leave any suggestions about things I could do better or things you liked in the comments. Thanks. Alright, let's get started. So this match against Keith is, I think, the third or fourth match of the day. For both of us, so we should be pretty well warmed up. Shouldn't have too many jitters in the early points. We should both be hitting the strokes that we know we can hit. So Keith's serves tend to cause a lot of people trouble, and you'll get a good look at them here. Thankfully, I've played against him enough times that I more or less know the tricks that he's going to throw at me, but let's see. Yeah, so right away he gives me a light topspin long with my forehand, and I just crush it at him. So there he served long to my backhand and pushed me off the table a little bit, but wasn't able to keep the pressure up, so I was able to get a forehand loop backhand and point. So my first serve in a match tends to be short underspin to the middle, just to see what kinds of things they're going to give me back, and he dumped the first one in the net. But then the second one he was able to push. We got a fine rally in. So that's not great. He gives me a light underspin ball to my middle, and I just push it back, and he crushes me. So, yeah, there I dropped it a little bit shorter, and he had trouble getting in with his forehand. So I give him another short under to the middle, he pushes, and I unfortunately just push it back into the net. So I really got to make sure that I'm getting my footwork going, stepping around balls I can step around, getting my forehand involved in as many points as I can get it involved in. So there you see me drifting back from the table, which happens a lot, especially after I hit a first spinny ball. I tend to take a step back that's a little bit bigger than it should be, and I very often get off the table. Yeah, that was a sweet block. I'm getting my forehand involved in points, which is a really good sign, and so far I've been returning his serve decently, but we'll see how that continues as the game goes on. That looks like side spin, so I should be able to loop that. Yep. But I was a little bit slow on my step around, so my loop came a little bit short, and he was able to punch it back at me, and I wasn't able to recover. So really got to make sure I'm getting fully around when I step around loops, to make sure I can get them in a place where he can't pound them back at me. I tend to be pretty obsessive about keeping my shoes clean, because I don't have, particularly great strokes compared to a lot of other players at 2000 level. I mean, Keith's forehand is way harder than mine, but I do tend to move fairly well, and so I feel like if my shoes are dirty, that really hurts my game, so I tend to be pretty obsessive about keeping them clean. So that's going to happen a lot. When people give me these long serves to my backhand that I'm not quite sure what spins on them, I tend to receive them or return them a little bit weak and get hit. So a big key for me in this match is going to be making sure that I can put semi-aggressive returns onto his serves, because it's sometimes tough to read exactly what the spin is, but I got to make sure I'm making confident reads and hitting strong enough to be able to actually get in and play a point. So here's a rally. I'm still really far back from the table, but so is he. I get a good chop in, and he pushes it into the net. Another decent rally, both a little bit back from the table. I get a good block in, and he misses. So if Keith and I are both backing up from the table, I like my chances. I think I move pretty decently a little bit farther back from the table, whereas once Keith takes a step back, he has a little bit of trouble coming back to the table, whereas I can jump back in. So as long as I avoid his forehand when he's super far back from the table, I like my chances there. So there was another point where he served long, kind of topspin to my backhand, and I hit it back a little weak, and he really punched it at me. So we'll see if I manage to avoid that more, or if he continues to exploit that weakness. Because if he notices that that's something that is going to be working a lot, and keeps kind of pounding at that weakness of mine, it could be trouble for me. But let's see. I could have opened stronger there. Yeah, and I get punished. Thankfully, I get a sweet reloop in because he goes to my forehand, and I'm able to get back in the point. That was sweet. And I managed to take the first game. So in table tennis, you're always playing kind of two different games. The game where you're serving and the game where they're serving. So the key in this match when Keith is serving is I really just got to be making confident reads about what spins on the ball and actually putting decent strokes on them. If I'm caught in between, oh, maybe it's a little under or maybe it's a little top, I tend to put a really weak receive on it. And even if I get it on the table, Keith's forehand is really wicked and his backhand punch is pretty good too. So that's going to go poorly for me if I'm kind of being indecisive about how to return his serve. So on his serve, I really got to be swinging. Because his balls, sometimes they're short, but they're often long, and I often can attack them. Or at least I have that opportunity. And so if I'm saying, all right, I think that this is probably just a little bit topspin, I'm going to swing at it, put some spin on it. Even if I'm wrong by a little bit, it should be okay as long as I'm taking a big swing. So let's see how game 2 goes. I get a nice step around loop on my third ball attack. He manages to block, but I have the footwork to get another loop on, and he misses the second block. So that opening loop was good enough so that I didn't get in trouble on my fifth ball. Let's see how this one goes. Long serve to his backhand. He blocks it really short, kind of awkward. We both back up from the table, and yep, as long as I avoid his forehand, I should be fine, but I gave him a forehand, and I hit my reloop long. Definitely got to avoid that when he's off the table. So kind of weak receive. Let's see if I can get into it. Both back from the table. He's getting forehands on, but let. So there again, you saw a little bit of a weak receive from me. It seems like he's picking at that weakness of mine of serving these balls to my backhand with spin that I can't quite read quickly enough. He's been able to get into some decent points that way. Let's see what happens here, if he continues to go for that or add some variety. Ball hits the net twice. He backs up. Oh. Well, he hit a ball into my backhand, and I was looking to hit it with my forehand, and I didn't react in time. Should have been my point, but made a mistake. Chop it at him, block his opening loop, block his next loop, and then he puts one right in my middle. So my backhand block is really good. Lefties tend to have blocks that are really good because righties are always looping at them. So if Keith's looping to my backhand all day, I should be okay. But he managed to get one from my middle, and I missed that last point. This rally looks awesome. I'm sticking it to his backhand. He got one forehand in, but he was a little bit off balance, so he ended up missing it. Alright, I decided to go for some backhand serves. My first one always tends to be dead. Just because when people go and start doing backhand serves, a lot of the times the receiver's going to expect the first one to be underspin. I tend to have it pretty light underspin or dead, and I often get a pop-up on my first backhand serve. He gives me a ball half long to my forehand. I kind of have an awkward pickup, but he wasn't expecting his serve to come long, so he was surprised by a topspin return. Let's see what he gives next. I drop, he drops, but it's long. But again, we see that I'm managing to get my forehand involved in points, and I'm able to keep it away from Keith's forehand decently well. So he gets a good block in there. So I really got to be varying up position more with my opening loop. If I'm putting it right to his backhand, he's gonna pound it back at me. So we'll see if I can get good variation and placement with my opening loop in the coming games. Ugly miss hit serve, loop it kind of to his middle. Keith gives topspin to my backhand, yep, and I miss it. So that's his serve that tends to be really deceptive, is this ball ends up being pretty heavy topspin, but he has this weird kind of, he like shakes his paddle at it when he hits it. Sometimes it can be confusing what comes off at it. Terrible footwork from me. Didn't get my 2 feet planted where they needed to be for the loop, and so I just was totally off balance in my loop. Right now, a lot of my training is focusing on being stable when I'm hitting loops, making sure that I'm really getting both of my feet planted and pushing off from both of them. So points like that or strokes like that happen less, but they still happen. Let's see. And I had a soft opening loop, but still I'm getting my forehand on most of these third balls, which is looking pretty good. So as long as I keep staying aggressive, hopefully I'll be winning these points. That didn't look good. He pushed to my backhand. I was thinking about stepping around, decided too late, just bumped it back with my backhand. Luckily he gave me a freebie and missed his backhand. So he's not returning any of my serves wide to my forehand, so I feel pretty safe stepping around, but we'll see how that goes as the game continues. He gives me a half-long serve, I loop it up slow and spinny, go back for a sweet chop, come in, and get him. I've developed a pretty decent chop from far back that lets me come back to the table, and definitely did wonders for me there. Normally if I'm far back and I'm just lobbing, Keith will kill me, but if I manage to get a decent chop at him, you saw there that he bumped it up, I was able to come back in and smack it at him. Another one of those serves that's getting me. He stays close to the table, I'm a little bit back off. Luckily my spin got me out of that. That was trouble for me because he was staying up close to the table and I had backed off. But I got low, got my feet in the right place to spin a forehand ball that he ended up missing. Oh, I should have stepped around there. Again, he gives me a lucky one. So we've seen 2 balls in a row now that I should have stepped around but didn't. And then I got a lucky freebie off that. So if I were Keith, I would be easing up a little bit on those openings, especially on the backhand, because he had me just in an absolutely terrible position. I kind of just bumped the ball up a little bit high to him, and he went for a little bit too much with his backhand. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see if I can fix my step arounds to be getting all the way there when I decide to go for a step around. And if I keep giving Keith some of these openings, whether or not he takes a little bit of power off them in order to be a bit more consistent with them. That's not Keith's style. Keith tends to go for very big openings, but we'll see if he makes that adjustment. So at this point I'm up 2-0. Have a fairly comfortable lead. See if I can stay consistent and pull it out. Or whether or not Keith is going to give me some new variety on his serves or new variety in strategy to turn this game around. Let's see what serve he gives me. That looks, oof, in the net. Top spin to my backhand. I managed to get it wide to his forehand, which pushes him off the table. That's pretty good. So again, he gave me the serve that's been working really well. But since I got it out wide to his forehand, I got a good block in. And anytime Keith gets pushed off the table and I can step around to my forehand, things are looking good for me. Oh, 2-0. Dead ball. Bit late on the loop. Stay close to the table. Nah, I was just too far back and he was blocking me around way too easily. I was a little bit indecisive on my third ball because his push came pretty close to the white line. So my opening loop was a little bit weak. And when that happens, I often take a little half step back and he managed to stay on the table and punish me for it. Good loop-to-loop rally. Keith is on his backhand. If I keep him there, things should be fine. Looks like I've learned I'm keeping him on his backhand. He's not looking to step around. He gets one in my backhand. Oh boy. He's back away from the table again. Balls to his backhand, pretty easy. He's not going to reloop any of these, or if he does, he's going to miss. I had a softball to him. And I'm too slow moving to the left. So my feet aren't in the right place, and I pound it into the net cord. That's tough. So it's pretty clear that I've learned that when he's back from the table, sticking it to his backhand is going to be the way to go. In order to try to get it through him there, I gave him a shorter ball because I know he's bad at coming back to the table, but he managed to get it back. I wasn't prepared to move to the left, and he got me, so I just gotta not give up. Kind of gave up on that point, I guess, when I gave him that short ball. Let's see. Ooh, okay, I'm glad that I swung hard at that, because that's what I need to do. I just happened to, like, think it was a little dead ball that had some under on it. That'll be under. I don't know. I'm backing up. He's backing up. He gets a forehand on it. He goes for a backhand. So Keith, yeah, huge forehand. Footwork could use some work. Oh, he tricks me there. He has the advantage. Yep. He had a ball to my backhand that I was expecting not to be quite so wide, so popped it up a little bit, and he was able to finish the point. I really just got to stay stable on my 2 feet. Back into backhand. Ugh. All right, I hit an easy one, and he crushes it at me. That happens. I gotta get lower. Knees bent, feet stable. There, I swing at that. He'll give that easy to me. I gotta finish it up, though. He gets hard counters in. Oof. Oh, baby. Good point. Yeah, it happens a lot. I'm pretty good a couple steps back from the table. And he wasn't able to put it on an angle that got it around me, so I had the time to get to the balls and was able to keep spinning them on. Backhand serve. Is it going to be dead or underspin? That looks underspin. Step around, awesome loop, right to his middle. Exactly what I wanted. Let's see. Dead? Oh, interesting. Let's see what he gives me. Looks dead. Yeah. Step around for a backhand, but I only put wrist into it instead of putting some forearm into it too, so it comes off real soft, and it's to his forehand, so he crushes it at me. Topspin. I looped it slow, but I looped it. Those are the kinds of points that I think I lose more often than not. If I get a slow opening to his backhand, he sees it coming and can put some power into it, that's not looking good for me. So again, it's about really taking big wind-ups on when he serves at me, so that I can put some real spin and power on it. And I didn't there, but got lucky. I push him back, he gets a good backhand in, but I managed to keep it in play, just spinning to his backhand. Oh, I don't step around, but it's alright. Oof, that's dangerous. I really gotta be keeping forehands on all those balls. But regardless, my backhand, I had one slow one, but then I spun a ball at his forehand, and he couldn't whip it back in. Top spin. Ooh, gross. That serve tends to get popped up to my backhand a little bit. Just lifted it too much there. Gotta stay low. Stood up too much on my backhand. That's the ball I have trouble with. He pushes me back. Who's gonna get the advantage? He steps back in. And he misses. Yeah, that happens a lot. Good that he was trying to come back into the table, but just messed up the timing a little bit. That's the ball I have trouble with. Oof, lucky me. Alright, that's match. Alright, thanks for listening, guys. Leave any comments in the comment section about things you liked, things you didn't like, things you think I could have done better or worked on, so hopefully I'll be doing this a little bit more. Thanks.